back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay offensive lineman T.J. Lay.
And welcome back, football fans. I'd like to say hello to the folks listening in Racine tonight on WRJN, in Marshfield on WDLB, in Wausau on WDTX, in Fond du Lac on KFIZ-AM, in Eau Claire tonight on WBIZ, and in Wapaka on WDUX. Well, Donald Driver caught his 51st touchdown pass in yesterday's win. It moves him into 4th place in the Packers' all-time touchdown receptions list, moving him past Max McGee. And Driver's had quite a career, but I saw some numbers today. Jerry Rice is going to have his jersey retired, his number retired at halftime of the game tonight between the 49ers and the Saints. Jerry Rice has 208 career touchdown catches. Now you look at Driver. Now Driver's had a pretty good career. 51 touchdown catches for the Packers, and you look at Donald Driver and what he's done, and then you say, holy smokes, Jerry Rice at 208. I mean, Driver would have to play like the 85 to be able to reach those numbers. I mean, that's Jerry Rice something else. Randy Moss, he became the 4th NFL player to reach 150 touchdown catches yesterday. So, those are some big time numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's special. I mean, he's such a great guy. I mean, great locker room guy, true leader. I mean, he's just he's the definition of a team guy. He's not a guy that you'd never hear him complaining if he doesn't get the ball. He goes out there, he does his job, and he's just a fantastic guy. He's a true professional. So anytime he reaches milestones, I mean, he truly earns it, and he's such a special guy.
Yeah. Now I'll say this: I don't know that Jerry Rice, even though John Taylor was on that football team, and they had a pretty good tight end by the name of Dwight Clark, I believe was his name. They had some good receivers, but I don't know that anybody spreads it around like Aaron Rodgers, and before that, Brett Favre. I mean, they got everybody involved, receivers-wise. So sometimes, that can be your downfall if you're talking about, catching touchdown passes too. How about Lions rookie Javad Best? 232 total yards yesterday and 3 touchdowns and a loss, and that's a rookie. He's got 5 touchdowns now in 2 games as a rookie. You know anything about him at all?
Yeah, I mean, they got something going on down there in Detroit right now. I know they're 0-2, but they played some really tough games all the way down to the wire. And Javad Best, he's just lighting up the scoreboards. I know people that have him in fantasy leagues are really happy they picked him up right now.
I'll say this, and I said this before the season, but I really like what the Lions are doing, and I think Detroit is going to be the next team to challenge the Packers in this division. The Bears are eventually going to get old, and I'm not necessarily overly impressed with what they've done with the young players. And the Minnesota Vikings are getting old in a hurry. I think the Lions are going to be the next team in the division, and they're certainly. I mean, they got a young quarterback, they got a young running back, and I like their head coach too. So that'll be. In fact, you guys will see the Lions in just a couple of weeks too.
Yeah,
so that's right down the road. Texans quarterback Matt Schaub yesterday, 497 yards in an overtime win over Washington. Donovan McNabb, 426. So 2 quarterbacks were really winging it pretty good. I would imagine that, in fact, I think 1994 is the last time that's happened, or 1996, something like that. So you got to go back a ways. When you see that much offense, that's pretty special performance by 2 quarterbacks in the same game.
I got Matt Schaub on my fantasy team, so he had a good game yesterday. I was proud of him.
Here you go. You know what? I don't know that too many NFL players were talking about being on fantasy teams about 2 years ago.
Yeah, that thing's taken off lately.
Yeah, I mean, even for players.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are drafting. So how many, is it just you guys in a team, or are you in with some buddies?
We got about 8 or 9 players that we all kind of get together. And, I mean, it's just a way to, keep up with other players around the league. And, I think the NFL loves it. I mean, you got people that probably weren't too huge of a fan a couple years ago of the NFL, watching every game now to see what their players are doing. So it's really taken off the last couple of years, and it's a lot of fun too. I mean, it's my first year doing it, and it's a good time. It gives you, something to watch for when you're watching games. So it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, John, you have a team? You in a league?
Yeah, I'm in the same league as TJ.
Okay.
Like you said, there's just a couple of us guys, and we get together. It's just kind of something just to get us together and get a little team camaraderie, a little bickering going on.
So who had the first pick in your league?
I don't know.
In the draft?
Tausch, maybe?
No, it was
Josh Sitton did, yeah.
And
got Chris Johnson.
Who did he pick?
Yeah,
Chris Johnson?
Chris
Okay,
Johnson.
that was pretty obvious. Who was number 2?
I took Adrian Peterson.
Okay, all right.
I think last week Sitton had Chris Johnson and Arian Foster. I think he got like 80 points from those guys, so he destroyed me. I was playing him last week.
So Adrian Peterson getting stopped 4th and 1, kind of bittersweet for you because you got him in your fantasy league, but you don't want the Vikings to do well. So
Yeah, anything that happens that benefits our team trumps the fantasy league. We got to say that first and foremost.
Absolutely. Well, Brett Favre, 4 turnovers yesterday, 3 interceptions. I'll still go back and how about the ovation at the crowd yesterday, at the stadium yesterday when they put up one of his fumbles, I believe it was, that was returned or picked up in the end zone for a touchdown, and the ovation that the crowd gave.
It was the loudest cheer of the whole game.
It was one of the loudest cheers. You're absolutely right. But I'll still say he thinks he has the right as a veteran player to skip all that training camp and not be around for off-season workout programs. And you know what? For a while, I was maybe buying a little bit of it. That you could stay away maybe a little more than just not be there all the time. But you gotta be there. I mean, to me, I don't care if you're a veteran player. There's an impression you make on young football players. But bottom line is, I think he's showing you right now that you need training camp. I think you always need some training camp, but I think the older you get, you need it. I mean, I think Mark Tauscher was a perfect example. He admitted that not having that camp because of the injury a year ago really hurt him, and getting back into the mix this year, he really hit the ground running a lot quicker this year.
Well, I think when you're a veteran like that, I mean, those guys have their technique down pat, but just like you said, I mean, being around the guys and getting the chemistry and being a leader for your team, it makes the guys want to play for you, especially being a quarterback. So, I definitely think it's hurting them. And, it looks like, at least from watching the highlights, sometimes those guys aren't on the same page. And that's, true reflection on stuff you get done in training camp, taking care of all the little stuff. So, I absolutely think it's hurting them.
I want to go back to a play, and it was early in the football game yesterday. And this is where coaches just sometimes out-scheme each other. Okay, you've got all these different talented players on the field, and in the Packers, I believe it was a 3rd down. And where did they go? They go to Quinn Johnson off to the far side of the field. Now who on that Buffalo defense is thinking they're going to throw the ball to Quinn Johnson?
Well, I'll tell you, it worked. So
Absolutely,
it
I think
look
it's
like anybody.
Brilliant play call.
Yeah, it was a great play call, and that's one of those play action passes, a keep pass where you just try and catch the defense thinking we're going to run, and he just ran straight by the DN, called a wide open pass, and broke a tackle.
That's where spreading the ball around has its benefits, because you become so unpredictable. If you're going to key in on 2 guys all the time, defense, you become much more defensible, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you see that with our offense as much as any other offense, that you can, you pretty much pick your poison. Who do you want to beat you to death?
Finley had another decent day again. Same amount of catches as the first week, but he did more damage with those catches. He would have had one more, but Rodgers didn't see him flying down the middle of the field. Yes. He was really open on that one.
Yes, he was wide open.
Yeah, and he would have had a touchdown. Would have been an easy throw for Aaron, too. All right, we're going to have to pick some of this up in our last segment as well. We do our little quiz thing here, but tell me, guys, your activity that your contract doesn't allow you to do right now, but when football's over, you're doing it.
Play a lot of basketball in the off season just to stay in shape. I think it relates to football a little bit with all the movement and jumping and working different muscles, but they don't really like us doing that during the season.
Basketball?
Yeah, I mean, you always hear some horror stories about guys, blowing a knee out playing pickup basketball games. So that's something that the coaches, I can't imagine they're big fans.
So nothing more grand like skiing or?
I used to snowboard back in high school, but I was 250 back then. So
jump out of a plane?
Yeah, I don't know. That's not for me. I'm not a big fan of heights.
How about you, John?
I'd probably say motorcycles.
Yeah.
Get on a motorcycle.
And they just don't want any part of that right now, do they?
Well, I don't think I don't think any team does after seeing what happened with Ben a couple years back. I don't. It's definitely frowned upon.
Yeah. Spencer Havener, where is he right now? I don't know if it had anything to do with the motorcycle, but I don't think it helped either. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back. It is time now for the Granite Peak Ski Area email questions of the week. We'll come back with that and more coming up after this on the Woodward Radio Network.